Hi guys, and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron, and welcome back today to another live stream. It is another manager update, and have we got an answer? Have we got a manager? It looks like the decision has been made by the Everton board, and the new Everton manager, soon to be, not officially confirmed of course, but according to pretty much every journalist on the planet at the moment, will be Frank Lampard. We knew obviously there was meetings yesterday throughout the club. Obviously they had an interview with the three candidates, Frank Lampard, Duncan Ferguson and Vitor Pereira, and the wide message from the mainstream media yesterday, as we spoke about in yesterday's live stream, was very much that it was an Everton D-Day and that a decision would have had to have been made yesterday. We maybe thought that there might have been an announcement made yesterday, but that was probably going a little bit too far for Everton. But at least, you know, we were sitting here last night and saying, you know, the club have simply got to make a decision. You know, at the end of the day, it's deadline day on Monday. We're currently on Saturday. We still need a good 2 or 3 players, you know, into this squad if we've got any real hope of doing anything this season, especially, you know, given the problems with injuries and specifically in the midfield and how bad we've been defensively so far this season. So we knew that a decision was going to have be made sooner rather than later. Obviously, we spoke yesterday about the board having a meeting and how they could have come to a decision last night, and, you know, whether or not that would be announced was a different question. However, it does seem like the Everton board did come to a decision, and that decision, much to, I think, the joy of a lot of Evertonians, is or was Frank Lampard, and I'm sure we'll hear officially from the club over the next, 24, 48 hours or so, regarding Frank Lampard and his appointment at the football club. So before anybody, who isn't on Twitter or isn't on social media thinks, Cam, you're not making this up, are you? This isn't just an awful lot of tosh, is it? Let's go into the latest rumour. So as I said, pretty much everybody late last night, reporting this and commenting on this. Apologies. Sorry about that. I was out last night. I'm feeling a little bit worse for wear this morning, but nothing that we can't handle, nothing that we're not going to sit here and talk about the manager for it. Frank Lampard, the new manager of Everton. I'm not going to let a little hangover get to me head. You know, we're here. So as I said, we spoke yesterday about Everton holding a meeting in London and that a decision on the managerial appointment could be made last night. And then about 10 o'clock, about 9:15, 10:30, wasn't it? The reports were flying out there that Frank Lampard had been offered the Everton job. The Telegraph said that Everton have offered Frank Lampard the manager's job. Matt Law of the Telegraph also said that if Frank Lampard was to join Everton, his previous assistant manager, Jody Morris, would not be part of his staff. I believe he said that on a podcast. And then you had Fabrizio Romano saying Frank Lampard, front runner to get Everton job. He's still waiting for final communication to arrive later tonight. Matter of minutes, hours. Frank Lampard wants the job. He's just waiting for Everton final communication. Paul Joyce then reported Frank Lampard is set to become the new Everton manager. Sammy Mockbell, who has been following this story for, the last couple of weeks or so, ever since Rafa Benitez was sacked, he has reported that Frank Lampard is set to win the race for the Everton job. The BBC Sport reported Frank Lampard has been offered the Everton job. The Athletic then reported a little bit of news regarding Backroom staff. They said that Chelsea coach Anthony Barry is likely to follow Lampard to Goodison. England assistant manager Steve Holland could also join. Anthony Barry would be a fantastic appointment for Everton Football Club, by the way. Let's put the Frank Lampard appointment on to one side at the moment, and we'll talk about Frank Lampard in just a second. Bringing in Anthony Barry would be fantastic. He's a great coach. He's proven it at Chelsea. He is fantastic at working with the players. And, again, we've spoken a lot recently over the last couple of months or so about Everton's, the coaching staff at Everton and the manager and whether or not ultimately the players are being coached properly. We know we've got Dunk there, and we know the players have got a very good relationship with Dunk, and therefore, I would be confident in saying Dunk is doing everything he can. But other coaches at the football club, have they been good enough? Have they been up to scratch? Have they been, working in connection with Duncan Ferguson and the manager? Or has it been, maybe not good enough? And somebody like Anthony Barry coming in would be a fantastic appointment, because he is a fantastic coach. And that has been proven on a number of times before. We then heard actually from The Athletic that there is also thought to be uncertainty over the future of Duncan Ferguson's role in the new coaching team, which is sad, really, because it would be sad to see Dunk, go his way, go his separate ways. After this, obviously he was interviewed yesterday as well. I can only assume that was an interview in the same way that, Frank Lampard and Vitor Pereira would interview. But we don't know. It might have been a discussion about joining the coaching staff. It might have been a discussion for something else. As I said yesterday, it might have been just so Bill Kenwright could take him down and have a little conversation about Coronation Street or something. But it would be sad. It would be sad to see Dunk go. However, I think Dunk might look at this as an opportunity to leave Everton, to move on, to go and get a job somewhere else and go and get some experience. And then the next time this job comes up, which it will, let's be honest, I wish Frank Lampard the best of luck. And I actually have got this gut feeling of optimism now that Frank Lampard will do a really, really good job at Everton. I have. Maybe that's just because I'd had a few drinks last night and it was Frank Lampard, and we were also relieved that it wasn't going to be Vitor Pereira. I've got this sort of air of optimism that, Frank Lampard will do a great job at Everton. However, Dunk knows that in a few years' time, for whatever reason, this job will probably come up again. And he will probably be in contention of getting it again, especially if he's gone away. He's got some experience as a manager. No point in going and getting experience as a coach somewhere, because that's what he's been doing at Everton. There'll be a lot of teams in the lower leagues and in, maybe even Scotland that would take Duncan Ferguson as manager because of his name, his pedigree, because of his experience as well. Duncan has been a Premier League coach, managing Premier League players for over 10 years. He's got the highest coaching badges you can get. He's not just an ex-Everton player who wants a job. He's a very, very qualified manager. He's a very, very qualified coach. And if he does that, if he goes away, if he gets that experience, and then Everton are looking at him in, I don't know, a couple of years' time, and all of a sudden it's a Duncan Ferguson who's managed a championship side or a Scottish football side successfully for a couple of years, then that conversation becomes a very, very different one, doesn't it? Frank Lampard may want Duncan Ferguson as part of his backroom staff, and then that's a conversation that Duncan Ferguson will have to have with himself as to whether or not he wants to continue as a coach in the same role he's had for the last few years, or he wants to go away and get some experience as a manager himself. But I'm sure we'll hear more about that one in the coming days and weeks. Days really. Fabrizio Romano then said at around about 10 o'clock last night that Frank Lampard is set to be appointed as the new Everton manager. Full agreement reached now. It's done and sealed. Club decision made tonight after conversations with Frankie goes to Goodison. Let's get that one. Frankie goes to Goodison. Vitor Pereira and Duncan Ferguson. After conversations with Frank Lampard, Duncan Ferguson and Vitor Pereira. He also then said for Fabrizio Romano that Frank Lampard will sign as new Everton manager in the coming hours. Confirmed. Decision has been communicated to Vitor Pereira and Duncan Ferguson. Everton are preparing contracts and final clauses to complete the appointment. We then had at 11 o'clock, Solomon Rondon scored an hat-trick for Venezuela last night, which is just unbelievable. I mean, could this night get any better for Evertonians? We've brought in a manager that most Blues wanted. Okay, not all Blues wanted, but most Blues wanted. There's an overall air of feel good around the club for the first time in a long, long time. You go on social media and all of a sudden it's quite positive, which is not something we've been able to say recently. And Solomon Rondon scored an hat-trick at international level. What more can we ask for? What a night. Oh, what a night. The Daily Mail then reported that Ross Barkley has admirers at Everton who would be eager to bring the former Everton man on loan, but it remains to be seen whether Lampard will be keen on the move. And then Dominic King reported that Chelsea coach Joe Edwards is likely to follow Frank Lampard to Everton. I don't know much about Joe Edwards, but considering he's coaching at one of the best sides in the world, and he's still got a job there, and Thomas Tuchel is still quite keen on him, that would show me that he's doing a relatively good job at Chelsea. But as I said, I don't know an awful lot about him. And then we had a report earlier this morning from the Manchester Evening News about Everton monitoring Jesse Lingard, but a lot of clubs are monitoring Jesse Lingard, so I wouldn't I'd take that one with a massive pinch of salt. But yeah, as I said, it looks like the decision has been made. It looks like it's Frank Lampard, and like I've just said before, a manager who not every Evertonian would have wanted. And I'll be honest, I said it yesterday on the live stream, and I'm not gonna sit here and flip-flop and change my mind because the decision's been made. Frank Lampard, in an ideal world, wouldn't have been my number one choice he wouldn't have been Frank Lampard is a risk. Of course, he's a risk. He's a massive risk. Now, I think a lot of the support for Frank Lampard from Evertonians over the last few days or so has been because he is less of a risk than Vitor Pereira, and there's a lot more of a guarantee surrounding Frank Lampard's appointment than Vitor Pereira because he knows the country, he knows the Premier League. He's also got I can imagine a lot of good contacts around the Premier League in regards to, players and as we just mentioned, coaches from Chelsea that could come to Everton and ultimately help turn this ship around. Well, stop this ship from sinking is really what we should be saying, isn't it? And, like I said, again, there seems to be that feel-good factor around Everton at the moment, and I understand that not a lot of Evertonians wanted Frank Lampard, and not every Evertonian wanted Frank Lampard. However, given the options and given the names that were considered, I would have still liked Dunk. But I know there's a lot of Blues out there that wouldn't have wanted Dunk, and last week against Aston Villa probably didn't help his cause. I think the Vitor Pereira appointment would have been a disaster, if I'm being honest, because it was another appointment that not only is a risk, as Frank Lampard is a risk, but is a risk that the fans weren't seemingly willing to get, on board with. And listen, if it was Vitor Pereira as the new Everton manager, I'd back him, I'd get behind him, and I'm sure everybody watching in the live comments would get behind him as well. But it would have a very, very similar feeling to the Rafa Benitez situation in that we lose a couple of games on the bounce and that's it then. There's no going back. The toxicity feeds in again. Vitor Pereira seems like the kind of manager to say things in press conferences that might get under the skin of Evertonians, especially when we're losing games or we're not winning. Whereas Frank Lampard, for as much as he is a risk, and of course he's a risk because he's not got no experience in this sort of situation, i.e. fighting a relegation battle, and getting a side out of such an awful situation, he is a manager that there's a large percentage of Evertonians, certainly on social media. I can't speak for, not every Evertonian is on social media. Not everyone that goes to the game at Goodison is on social media, but certainly a large part of the Everton fan base that are on social media were either happy with the Frank Lampard appointment or relieved and sort of willing to accept the Frank Lampard appointment over, certainly Vitor Pereira, who was, let's be honest, the other leading candidate. I think Dunk was just taken down so the club could say, oh, look, we interviewed Dunk. I don't really think they ever had Duncan Ferguson in mind, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, because he wasn't rumoured at all other than yesterday. So, yeah, Super Frankie Lampard. Hey, let's wait and see how this one goes. I think Frank's got a lot of positives. I do. As I said, there's a couple of negatives, and it is a massive risk. And in an ideal world, Frank Lampard wouldn't be considered for the Everton role, but we're not in an ideal world. And out of the candidates that were on the plate, I think Frank is probably the best out of those options. But he has also got a lot of positives. We spoke a couple of days ago about, the young players at Chelsea and how he gave them ultimately opportunities. He brought Mason Mount to Derby with him. And then when he went back to Chelsea and he had that season of not being able to spend any money because of their financial constraints, he brought through the likes of Reece James, who a lot of people at the time were like, Reece James, is he going to be able to make it? He's now Chelsea's number one right back when he's fit. Unbelievable player. Tomori, who got into the Chelsea side and then was ultimately sold to AC Milan and is doing a brilliant job over in Italy. Same with Tammy Abraham, broke into the Chelsea side, is being sold to Roma and doing a good job over there, I believe. In this, I'm even seeing Chelsea fans on social media and stuff now saying that they want Tammy Abraham back. He's a better option than Lukaku, which is saying something. Obviously, we mentioned Mason Mount, and the likes of other Chelsea players. Listen, Everton aren't getting Mason Mount, are we? We're not getting Reece James. We're not getting Tammy Abraham. Those players are long gone in regards to Everton's hopes of bringing them in any capacity. And I remember when we were linked with Reece James, when he was at Wigan, I think, on loan, and that would have been an unbelievable signing, but we decided to just keep Seamus Coleman for another few years instead. However, I think there is still a couple of players at Chelsea who Frank Lampard would be able to get his hands on, who would be able to come and improve Everton drastically. And if you've got Chelsea there, and let's say Frank Lampard gives, I don't know, Roman Abramovich a call, or Thomas Tuchel, or whoever it is, and obviously Chelsea have got a massive amount of respect for Frank Lampard, even though he lost his job and even though it didn't quite go as well as he would have wanted it to. They've got a gigantic amount of respect for Frank Lampard, and I'm sure that Thomas Tuchel has as well. And if you've got Frank Lampard picking up the phone and going, look, I've just got the Everton job, I know that you've got a couple of players there who maybe aren't getting an awful lot of game time, maybe haven't, not very happy because they're not getting as much as they want. Any chance I can loan a Ruben Loftus-Cheek till the end of the season? You can have him back at the end of the season, but can we have him, take him? We'll play him every week, so we'll be guaranteed game time. And I think he's a player that would suit Everton down to the T. Big, physical centre midfielder, could battle, can get about the pitch, can get involved at the other end of the pitch in terms of scoring goals as well. And Ruben Loftus-Cheek, I see, as very much a similar situation to Demarai Gray, in that he's getting to an age now where he really, really needs to settle down and, sort of find himself as a footballer. I mean, he's no longer a 22, 23-year-old, lad. He's 26 now. I remember this lad when he was in his early 20s thinking he's going to be absolutely fantastic. He's going to be wonderful. And when you're a Premier League player in your early 20s going out on loan, there's still a lot of time for you to, find yourself and find your feet and break into that first team. Ruben Loftus-Cheek is 26 now. If he's not getting in that Chelsea first team consistently, and by Chelsea first team I mean starting consistently, and he isn't, okay, he comes off the bench or he'll start the odd game, but he isn't a consistent sort of starter in that side. At 26, you'd be thinking Loftus-Cheek could be thinking, I don't want to be a bit part player all my career. I want to go somewhere where I'm playing every week and I can find my feet. Because this is a lad who, when he was, as I said, 2021, I was thinking he's going to be one of the best midfielders this country's, ever seen. Because of his physicality, because of his stance, because of how technically good he was on the ball. He went to Palace, he done well there on loan. And I think if you offered Ruben Loftus-Cheek an opportunity to come to Everton on loan and kick-start his career with Frank Lampard as the manager, who has obviously got a good relationship with him and had a good relationship with all of the players at Chelsea, I believe, then I don't see how he'd turn down that. And I don't think Chelsea had turned down that as well, because, as I said, he's not an overly important player to Chelsea. They've got a good relationship with Frank Lampard. And let's be honest, Everton are simply not a rival to Chelsea. We're not a rival. And Loftus-Cheek's just one example. There'll be other players around the world, around the league, that'll look and go, do you know what? I want to go and play under Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard, one of the best midfielders this country has ever seen. In fact, I'm half tempted to say Frank Lampard might have to play in our midfield in a couple of weeks' time if we don't bring in a midfielder by Monday. Because, at the end of the day, I think Frank Lampard could probably do a better job than a couple of them, I'll tell you that. But again, Loftus-Cheek was just ultimately, a name, that I think is one that really stands out because of his connections with Lampard, Chelsea, and as I said, because he's at that age now where he really needs to settle down and kickstart his career. There'll be other players out there that Lampard will know of that could come in and do a similar job, that would love to play under Frank Lampard. He's got that gravitas, he's got that name in football that I don't think Vitor Pereira has, and, in all fairness, as much as I love him, I don't think Dunk has as well. Players will look at Frank Lampard and think, I want to go and play for Frank Lampard. I want to go and play under him. You look at his time at Chelsea and think he was brilliant in that first season. And even in the second season, I think they sacked him when he was 8th or something, which for Chelsea isn't great, and that expectation for Chelsea isn't acceptable. If Frank Lampard got Everton to 8th at the minute, it would be a fucking miracle. Never mind the sackable offence, it'd be a miracle. So, again, there is a lot of positivity and there's a lot of positives surrounding the Lampard appointment. I understand everybody saying, it's a massive risk. It mightn't go well, and he's never been in this situation before. I get all of that. And people are bringing Derby up, and look, he on the outside it looked like he done a brilliant job at Derby, and he probably did do a good job there. But spent a lot of money at Derby, and a lot of the money that he spent is ultimately the reason as to why they're in the situation that they're in now, and Wayne Rooney's having to save them. And he ultimately didn't get promoted with it. But in terms of the young players that he brought through and the opportunities that he gave to players that may never have got those opportunities if it wasn't for Frank Lampard, you could see that there was a lot of positives out of his time at Derby. And as I said before, and I'll say it again, now it's time to get behind the manager, and now it's time to get behind the players. Ultimately, whether we wanted Frank Lampard or not, whether we like Frank Lampard or not, whether we wanted even if it was Vitor Pereira or Duncan Ferguson, it's time to get behind the manager and the players now, because this is our football club, by the way. Frank Lampard's just coming in, and I hope he does an amazing job, and I hope he takes Everton. I hope we win the FA Cup this year. I hope he makes up for breaking all of our hearts in 2009 in that FA Cup final. I hope we win it this year. I hope we stay up. I hope we go and have a brilliant few seasons. But let's be honest, in the next 5-6 years' time, even if it goes well, it's probably unlikely that Frank Lampard will be the Everton manager. Lampard will move on at some point. The players will move on at some point. You know, the board will move on at some point. We won't move on. We will be the one constant. We'll be here from the minute that we start breathing until the minute that we stop breathing as Evertonians. We're in a really, really bad situation at the moment in regards to the position in the league, the relegation battle, just where we are. We're in a really, really bad position. What we've got to do as a fan base now, all 40,000 of us sat in Goodison Park and all of those Blues that go away and everyone sat at home, is we've got to get behind our football club now. And I feel like a lot of people will, because it's Frank Lampard and a lot of Blues wanted Frank Lampard. But even if it wasn't Frank Lampard and it was Pereira, we've got to put the managerial appointments and what we think about it to one side. And we've ultimately got to put what we think of the players and the future of the players, you know, the anxiety of that some players might leave. Yet Richarlison probably will leave in the summer, because he said last summer that he was, you know, that we knew last summer that there was a chance of him leaving, but we allowed him to go to the World Cup, so he didn't leave. The Olympics, so he didn't leave. Richarlison is not being toying with leaving for a while, but we've known for a few years that there's a big possibility he could leave here. So yes, of course, there's a massive possibility that he could leave in the summer. There's a massive possibility that he stays. He might look and go, you know what, boss working under Frank Lampard, he knows what he's talking about. He's a great manager. He's worked in the Premier League. He's played in the Premier League. He's unbelievable. I want to stay. But he mightn't. And the same with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He mightn't stay. But that's in the future. At the end of the day, if we don't get behind the team and we don't back this team, we're going down, and these players are going to leave either way if we go down. So what we've got to do is ultimately get behind the team, get behind the players, get behind the club. And if we do that, we'll be okay. I think Frank Lampard will have enough to tactically make the right decisions to keep Everton up. But he is going to need the help from us Evertonians. He's going to need the help of Goodison Park being a fortress for 90 minutes, week in, week out. You know, getting behind the team, battling, fighting. Every time there's a challenge, getting up, screaming and shouting. As I said a couple of days ago, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of nervousness around the football club at the moment. And, you know, I get that. And I get that when you go to Goodison Park, it's hard to turn that anxiety, it's hard to turn that nervousness, it's hard to turn it off and forget about it. But we spend, got an itchy nose. We spend, we spend 23.5 hours a day for 6 days a week, 24 hours a day for 6 days a week worrying about Everton. So for that 1.5 hours that we're at Goodison Park on a match day, for me anyway, now we need to put that worry behind us, put that anxiety behind us, and realise that that's the time that we can make a difference. Sitting at home and doing these large teams and sitting on spaces and stuff like that, it's great because we can have a little moan, we can rant, we can talk about our problems with the club because, you know, again, we're not making a difference to the players. Now, when we're at Goodison Park, we need to realise that we can make a difference to these players if we get up for it, if we battle, if we fight, if we show the passion, the energy, the determination. And in doing that, I think they'll get behind it. I think Frank Lampard will get behind it, and I think we'll be okay. So that's what we've got to do now. We've got to get behind the team. We've got to get behind the manager. We've got to get behind the players. But also, we've got to bring in some players now. You know, the deal's being done, assumingly according to a lot of journalists, for Fabrizio Romano, Paul Joyce, all of that sort of stuff. When it will be announced, we don't know. I expect it to be later today, maybe tomorrow, but it might be Monday. We don't know. So we'll wait and see. But now we've got a manager, clearly, unless of a magical U-turn by Farhad Moshiri, which, to be fair, I wouldn't put it past him. We've got a manager. Now it's time to go out and get some players. Now it's time to go out and improve this squad. Now it's time to go out and bring in a couple of names that are gonna, help us in this fight to stay in the Premier League. Because just because Frank Lampard's coming in doesn't mean everything's okay. Doesn't mean, right, we'll be signed now. Lampard's coming, we'll stay up, indefinitely. As I said before, Frank Lampard might have to play in the fucking midfield. Because we've got no midfield at the moment. So, let's go out there on Monday, or even before Monday, preferably before Monday, but definitely before Monday, because that's deadline day. Get some players, and as I said, get behind the team, get behind the manager. And I'm confident that Frank Lampard will do a good job. I am. I wasn't a couple of days ago, but now that he's seemingly in, and, you know, seeing, you know, a couple of the coaches that could be joining him and their experiences. And listen, Frank Lampard's got no experience. Oh, City's going off here. Go away, City. I'm not talking to you. Frank Lampard's got no experience managing a side that are in a relegation battle. He hasn't. He ultimately hasn't. However, if we get behind it, if we back him, if we back the team, if we back the players, I think we'll be okay. Aubameyang first signing, according to the Express, says Queensbury. I think that was just Jermaine Genius doing an article in the Express saying that Everton should sign Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang as Lampard's first signing, which shows just how much Jermaine Genius knows about the situation Everton are in at the moment, to be honest with you. I never understand this, why journalists do this. I never get it, or ex-players or whatever. I don't understand it. You know, if the Express come to me and said, Cam, do us a favour, do a little article of who you think Everton should, who you think, I don't know, Bournemouth should sign to keep them in, you know, to get them promoted to the Premier League, I'd say, I'm not being funny, I ain't got a fucking clue about Bournemouth or who they need to sign, because I don't follow them, I don't watch them, I don't know that much about what they need, so I'm not going to do it. But these ex-players and journalists just go, yeah, go ahead, I'll do it, and then they go, who's a big name that's available? Aubameyang. Yeah, we don't need Aubameyang. Why would we need Aubameyang? We've got a Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, Anthony Gordon, Andros Townsend, Damari Gray, you know, El Ghazi now on loan. Rondon, who scored an hat-trick yesterday, rejuvenise his career. We've got about 46 attacking players that are good enough to do a job. We've got no midfielders and we've got no decent centre-back. Well, the only one decent centre-back we've got is Yerry Mina, and he got sent off for Colombia last night, which is a good thing because it means he'll miss their next game. So, yeah, again, it's just nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Let's get into some of the live comments then. 314 people watching. That is unbelievable. You know, on a Saturday morning at 11:20, that is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all so much. As I said, I do apologise for the lack of live stream yesterday. I was out and I was going to come home and do a little live stream and talk about the news that we've spoken about on today's, but I thought, you know what, being out, I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit worse for wear. I'd had a few bevies. I'd enjoyed me Friday night. So I thought, no, do you know what? We'll just get up Saturday morning and we'll do it then. As I said, if anything breaks between now and Monday, we'll obviously be doing a live stream. We'll be back on Monday regardless, doing another stream. I want to do one specifically about getting behind the team, getting behind the players and fighting for our football club and the future of our football club. However, if Lampard is appointed between now and then, we'll be back doing another live stream or video talking about that. But we haven't finished yet. 326 watching. Could we get the likes up? 65 likes. Could we get it to 100? Maybe even 150? Is that too much to ask for? If we could get the likes up, that'd be amazing. Just hit that like button. It takes a second. It's completely free. If you're new to the channel and you're one of the 123 people that have never seen me before, my name is Cameron. I often come on and rant about Everton. Sometimes it's good rant. Sometimes I'm here talking about positives. And I think this is a situation we can take a lot of positives out of. Hit that subscribe button. It only takes a second and it does mean a massive amount to me. It really, really does. If you're interested in becoming a member, by the way, I don't usually ask, but as soon as there's a lot of people in here, it's a 99p. It's the join button next to the subscribe button. I'm looking to do some member-only live streams and member-only videos and stuff in the future and build that up. But at the moment, it's just a little financial incentive to help the channel and to say, nice one, mate, I appreciate what you're doing. But you don't have to. You can just hit that subscribe button, which is completely free. But yeah, let's get into the live comments then, and let's see what people are saying. Glenn says, Cam, your new Barnet haircut looks... It's not a new Barnet, mate. I've just made an effort, if I'm being honest with you. Last night I went out, so I put a comb through it, and then this morning I woke up and it only needed a comb through it. But it's not being cut. I actually was going to go and get it cut today, but I think I'm going to go and play golf with my mate instead. Not play golf. I'm going to go to the driving range and hit a few balls like Happy Gilmore as if I'm dead hard. Man Nolbert says, it's only 6 a.m. in Florida. Good morning, Cam. Good morning, Blues. He's right, mate. That's commitment. 6 a.m. That's 6 a.m. today, mate. I was probably still bladdered, if I'm being honest with you. It's a loyalty badge, says Glenn. Yes. It will Lampard's first game be Brentford, Damien says. I would assume so. I seen a rumour last night saying, and it wasn't from anyone of any reliability, but it was saying that Lampard is going to come in, but Duncan Ferguson's going to take Brentford, and I just thought that would make no sense. Why would that make any sense? So I assume it would be Brentford. A couple of people not interested in Loftus-Cheek. Listen, I was just using Loftus-Cheek as an example of a player that, will need to, revitalise his career, and who Frank Lampard will know a lot of, and will have a good chance of bringing in. Colin says, be a Goodison for this first game. Yes, me too, mate, me too. Brothers, the Evertonian, spreading peace, love, and forgiveness. Yes, Jamie, yes. Lingard overload. I'd love Lingard. Imagine we sign Lingard. Imagine 18 months ago having this conversation, or 12 months ago having this conversation with the Blue before he joined West Ham, and I said, I'd love us to sign Lingard, he'd be amazing. Everyone would go, shut up, Cam, you're a tit, you haven't got a clue what you're saying. But because of the last 12 months and his spell at West Ham, I think most Blues are sitting there sharing the same opinion as me. How good would Jesse Lingard be, at Everton? Mike says, spot on, Cam, we need midfielder and centre-back reinforcements. We certainly do, mate, we certainly do. Roy says, what players do you think will benefit most? Get a second chance under Lampard. I think the young players will benefit an awful lot. You likes of your Anthony Gordon, Lewis Dobbin, even the likes of Damari Gray, Richarlison, I think Calvert-Lewin will all benefit from Frank Lampard. Ben Godfrey, I think will benefit from Frank Lampard, I do. Van der Beek, are we in the race for him, Cam? I believe he's going to Palace, isn't he? Didn't Fab Romano say that he's close to joining Palace on loan? I don't know. Links with Van der Beek today, apparently. Cam thought, says Olga. I'm not a massive fan of Van der Beek, if I'm being honest with you. I think he's a good player. I think technically he's a good player, and I don't think he's had the opportunities that he deserves at Man United. But I've watched him a couple of times when he's played for United, and he's played well a couple of times, don't get me wrong, but I've watched him another couple of times, and I've thought, you're not really suited to this league. He's not particularly quick, he's not particularly physical, he's not particularly dominant. And, on loan, I'd take a point on him, but we can only have one more loan player. We can only make one more loan, and I think there's better options out there than Van der Beek, if I'm being honest with you. Excited for Saturday, Cam says, Ollie, me too. John says, check. Cheek will be a bonus for us. I think he'd be a bonus. I honestly do. FIFA Pro says, who will win the FA Cup match on Saturday? Hopefully Everton. Damien says, Dele Alli, would he sign now with Lampard? I haven't said he's waiting for the manager decision. I think Dele Alli would come in under Lampard. I do. But it's whether Lampard wants Dele Alli, isn't it? Lampard might say, I don't want Dele Alli, I've got other players that I prefer, but I think Dele Alli would jump at the opportunity to play under Frank Lampard, to be honest with you. I think a lot of players would as well, certainly a lot of English players. Anthony says, everyone remember, whoever comes in is not going to change things overnight, and we're still in real trouble with bang average players. We need a massive change. You're right, mate. You are right. And as I said, I said it before, and I'll say it again. Lampard isn't the be all and end all. Don't expect us to turn up against Brentford and be like fucking Barcelona, because it's not going to happen. It isn't going to happen. It won't change overnight. And you're right, we do need a massive culture change at the football club, and a lot of those people on the board still need to leave. They do. It's as simple as that. But we've now got a manager that fans can get behind, and hopefully with his experience and with his know-how, and Lampard being a serial winner, let's be honest, Frank Lampard has never been at a football club where winning isn't the first thing on their mind. I mean, he left Chelsea when he was at an age where you'd think, okay, he's probably going to go retire now. He went over to New York, and then he joined Manchester City and won another league title there, didn't he? So he's a serial winner. Frank Lampard, a serial winner. Mark says, love the live streams, can't watch him from Australia on a Saturday night. Come on, you Blues. It's right, Mark. Nice one. Martin says, we're not going to get... listen, I'd be gutted if Dunk left. DGST says, I've been a fan for 35 years. Followed him around Europe from the city. I'd be gutted if Dunk left. I would. It'd be horrible. But if he were to say to me now, Cam, he goes away, he gets a couple of years experience, and then he becomes the Everton manager, I think I'd take that. Because I just don't think the club will ever give him it at this current stage. I don't. For whatever, they've got a great excuse there. For whatever reason, I don't think it's necessarily because he hasn't got the experience, but they've got an excuse to say, oh, you haven't got the experience. But if he goes away and he gets that experience, he can say, well, I have got the experience now. But he might want to be a coach under Frank Lampard. Who knows? Who knows? Good appointment getting Lampard as the experience in the Championship, says Joseph. I don't know if you're a Blue or you're not a Blue, but fair enough. I think Cheek is slightly better than Gomez. I think he's better than Gomez. Glenn says 150 likes gets everyone 1 times Cam, 1 times bottle of whiskey, 1 times late Everton live stream tonight. If we could get to 150 likes, I might do a late live stream tonight, and we might sit here and we might talk about Lampard, and he might have been announced by them. DGST, drop us a message, mate. Drop us a message and we'll talk. 'Cause I know there's been some stuff going on in the comments. We'll have a little chat, mate, because I know you've been around for a while and you've supported the channel, and we'll have a conversation and we will see each other in the park. So drop us a message on Twitter or Facebook, or not Facebook, I haven't got Facebook, Instagram or whatever, and we'll have a chat. Who wants Dele Alli? Unbelievable. Says, I think Dele Alli on loan wouldn't be too bad. I think Barkley is the player we need. Interesting. Time for Dunk to go and come back one day, says Colin. Get Barkley in, buy Lingard and find a striker. Interesting. Everyone deserves forgiveness, says Jamie. In a bit, Cam. Hope you're well, mate. Kev says, Lampard is the right man. If we go down, he'll stay and carry on the job. Well, let's hope that going down isn't an option now. Let's hope going down isn't an option. Mark says, hope Duncan finds a manager's job soon. Could do with it being a championship team. Yeah, I agree. Barkley can pick the ball up and move us up the field quicker. He can. Take care, Cam. Cheers, my mate. Philip says, Ross Barkley, I know he's not got a brain, but he could hit the ground running for us. Bit harsh. Big Dunk needs to go and get some experience. He needs to take over at the helm. John says, Dunk can hold the ball, bag, put out the cones. He's got... Duncan Ferguson is a much more experienced coach than a lot of people that are managing these days. And that's just true. 119 people get the likes up. Thank you very much, Damien. If we could get those likes up, that'd be amazing. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. 350 people watching. I don't know if I've ever had this many people watching, which is amazing. So get those likes up. Bye, Ross Barkley. Is it normal for interviews and contacts to take this long? No, it's just Everton, mate. We're a fucking circus. Or is it because we're being rudderless? It's because we're being fucking like a circus is what it is. Marx is watching from Germany. Got my ticket for the Brentford game next week. Let's get behind Frank now. Personally, think he's exactly what we need. Yeah, spot on, mate. Can you do another video tonight? Well, we'll definitely be doing a video if Lampard is announced. But even if not, and even if so, and we do another video, we might do a little late live stream tonight. Who knows? I won't be drinking though because I'm a lightweight and I'll be bladdered and I don't want to embarrass myself. Josh says, hey Cam, my mate just getting ready for bed over here in Australia. Reckon Frank will be announced on the weekend or wait till Monday? I think they'll announce him on the weekend. Because I think if they wait till Monday, there'll be another... I think Monday's too big of a day. If Monday wasn't transfer deadline day, then maybe. But Monday is too big of a day to do that. Announce him today or tomorrow, but preferably today. And then let's focus on players then and signings. And Frank will be right in at the deep end. Usually, the first sort of days of a managerial career, you get a press conference, you get the pictures of him in the Everton gear, you get all of the sort of settling into the football club. Frank's got no time to settle into the football club, no time. At the end of the day, it's a simple get in, get coaching with the players because we've got a game on Saturday, which is an absolute must win, and then obviously, get some players in before Monday because that's exactly what we need. Fabrizio Romano saying that Everton are interested in Donny van der Beek, which is interesting. Somebody's just said Lampard's being announced. I don't know if I'm being wound up there, but I'm going to look on Everton's Twitter. Lampard hasn't been announced as of yet. But I'm sure it's imminent. Well, hopefully it's imminent. Lampard was a winner as a player, so was Alan Ball. Lampard is a novice, says Joseph. Interesting. We only wanted Lampard because the other was so bad. I didn't want Lampard. He was a pick of a bad bunch. I did sort of say that, but I think even given that, there's a lot of positivity and sort of, I suppose, relief around the Lampard appointment now. And we've got to use that positivity as a sort of a catapult, a catalyst to going and getting behind the team and getting some positive results over the next few weeks. Let's go to the top then. John says, join Mighty Blues membership. People 99p and Cam does so much hard work and research just for us to have a live stream. He's boss. Let's support the team. Thank you very much, my mate. If you are interested, it's the join button next to the subscribe button. Reckon Luis Diaz is a snake? No, I just reckon we didn't have the money to pay for him, and then ultimately somebody else has come in for him, and he's thought, I want to move to the Premier League, so I'm going to go there instead. He's not an Evertonian, is he? So he's not a snake. Jamie says, Cam, you're an asshole at this. Cheers, mate. BBC Breakfast said Lampard is the manager. It's pretty much, other than an announcement, done, isn't it? Because every journalist is saying that it's a formality now, so we'll wait and see. Diaz to Liverpool is a done deal, apparently. Interesting. John says, isn't the time the team showed us why we should be screaming shout? That's the problem, not the fans. I know the fans aren't the problem, and I get that, and I agree with that. But, we can't afford to carry on this standoff of we won't support until the team show us why we need to support. Because the team have shown in recent weeks that their confidence is rock bottom. Their confidence is on the floor, and they haven't been able to show us why we should get behind them. And if we continue to have this standoff of we're not going to get behind you until you show us why we should, then we won't ever get behind them because their confidence is that low that they can't show us why we should. So what we've got to do is get behind them, do our part, and then the team will do their part. And if they don't, then these players aren't good enough and shouldn't be anywhere near Everton. But I firmly think they will. But this standoff of, I get where you're coming from, mate, and you're right, the fans aren't the problem. They're absolutely not the problem. But we've had this for a while now at this football club, certainly a lot of times this season, where it's been like, we'll get behind you when you get behind us and when you show us something, and it hasn't worked. So we've got to take that initiative now, in my opinion, anyway, in my opinion. Bar says, I'm not a fan of Lampard, but I'd love to see him managing again. He is a winner. I was disappointed when he was sacked by Chelsea, says Bar. Eugene says, I think Lampard's manager news will be on Gillette Soccer Saturday and Jeff. Well, Everton will announce it, won't he? And then everybody else will follow suit. Everybody will announce it, all of the top media sources, but Everton will announce it first. Or Jim White will announce it because, you know, that would make sense, wouldn't it? Can't wait to see Lampard use the young players as white chicken. Martin says, our most successful manager played midfield and now contact pending. The most successful midfielder, Prem Club and Country, can sort us out and bring the happy days back. Yeah, there you go. Damien says, Jim White will announce it on a text from Mashiri. Yeah. Reject loan signings, nah, no thanks. Well, that's where we are at the moment, isn't it? That's where we are. This super chat is £1.99 more than a membership, says Glenn. Thank you very much, Glenn. Really appreciate it. And it's right. He is right. It is more than a membership. Thank you, Glenn. I really appreciate that. Will Onyango get more minutes under Lampard? Will it help his game to another level? I'd assume so. What is Cahill's role in all of this, says Steve Muller? Reports and the rumours over the last 24 hours is that Tim Cahill will be coming in sort of an executive, not director, because that would mean he'd have a lot of role at the club. Sort of a technical office role, if you like. Not an office role, because he'd be very much involved with, you know, what's going on at the club and on the pitch and stuff, but not a coaching role and not a board director's role. He'll just be at the club, overseeing and being a technical something or other, whatever that entails. But I actually think Tim Cahill joining Everton is a really, really positive sign, and it's not a jobs for the boys, although it might seem that way. It isn't. Tim Cahill as a player marketed himself absolutely unbelievably during his career, unbelievably. We're talking about a player who was amazing for Everton, but wasn't technically, unbelievable. Scored a few really, really good goals, obviously at international level, but he wasn't, one of the best players the world's ever seen. But yet, the way he's marketed himself in China, in America, in India, in Dubai, you would think he was. And he's a massive name, and Cahill, the brand, is a massive brand. And I think having somebody on board that has got that business acumen and knows how to do that, and also has got the experience of playing for this football club and knowing what it means, I think it's only positive. Tim Cahill isn't just an ex-player who we're bringing on board because he's an ex-player. Business-wise, Tim Cahill is an unbelievable businessman. It's as simple as that. He really is. I liken him to David Beckham in the way that he's built his brand over the years. Tim Cahill is very, very similar. He's a massive name in football, a massive name. And he knows a lot of people over in Dubai as well. And if Mr. Mashiri wants to sell at some point, I'm sure Tim Cahill will have a few numbers, but that's another situation for another day. 60 million in total for Diaz. Interesting. Olga says, what is the situation with FFP? Is permanent signings realistic before the window shuts? Support Everton from Denmark. Come on, you Blues. Is right, mate. I think they're realistic, but again, how much money we'll spend on a permanent signing, who that will be, I think is a different question. But I do think that it's realistic we could bring another player or a couple of players in on a permanent. 160 likes, 370 people watching. If we could get that, like, could we hit 100 before we finish? 200 before we finish. Sorry, that would be unbelievable if we could do that. Please do hit that like button if you're enjoying. Subscribe if you're new. Let's get to the top of the comments then. Unbelievable amount of comments. We can't even get to the top. There's been that many. No point having Lampard if Duncan is on the bench. Again, telling tales back to Kenny. That's not how it works, mate. That's what Jamie said, but that's not what Dunk will be doing. That's not what Dunk will be doing. Crispy Southern Comfort has donated £5 to the stream. Thank you very much, Crispy. Really do appreciate that, my mate. It means a lot to me. He says, what will happen to Dunk? I'd love him to stay there and be the fans' voice injection. But we don't know. Ultimately, it's up to two people. It's up to Duncan Ferguson and it's up to Frank Lampard. If Frank Lampard doesn't want Duncan Ferguson as part of the backroom staff, then Duncan Ferguson won't be part of the backroom staff. If Frank Lampard does, and I would assume he would want him as part of the backroom staff because he knows the club and he's got a good relationship with the fans and this, that and the other, then it's down to Dunk to determine, do I want to stay on at this football club or do I want to go and get experience somewhere else as a manager? So that hasn't got enough experience argument can't be used against him. We don't know. We'll wait and see. The Athletic have reported that it's uncertain, Duncan Ferguson's future, so I'm sure we'll hear more about this and what will happen with Dunk over the over the coming days. Let's Let's get right back up to the top then. Bear with me 2 seconds. I've got a bit of dust on my mic and it's doing me nothing. Anyway, yeah, where are we? Getting confused there. Oh, there are 170 people watching now. Oh my god. Inky says Pickford, Patterson, Branthwaite, Mina, Godfrey, Allen, Decore, now Gomez, Gordon, Gray, DCL and Richie. Interesting. I do blame him for being a quitter. I think that's all about Carlo. Yeah, listen. Again, I'm not particularly happy with Carlo Ancelotti for how he left. I understand it and I appreciate it and I get it. But it would have been nice for him to see that. But it's done now. Carlo Ancelotti's well in the past. He's not even the last Everton manager. He's the manager before the last Everton manager. So he's well done. Nobody blame Gravison, says the EJST. Can my uncle is a red and says we're going down. I hope we prove him wrong and win at Anfield. Let's hope so, mate. Let's hope so. That was C plays. Agree, Kev. No Loftus-Cheek, says Mike. Matty says Ferguson might join Ancelotti at Real Madrid. That would increase experience. It would. But I think now if Dunk's going to leave, I think it's got to be the first team manager or first team coach somewhere rather than just a coach somewhere else. Injury prone Loftus-Cheek. Interesting. Good point. Rondon scored an hat-trick. He did. I've been touting Loftus-Cheek for ages, says John. Intellectual affluent says Big Dunk needs to move on or he becomes a 45-year-old. Still lives with his mum. Sean says we can only get one domestic loan, so what player would you take? That's a good point. If it was out of all of the rumours, I think... Well, I don't know. I think Loftus-Cheek suits us a bit more than Lingard, but I'd love Lingard. I think he'd be amazing. But would United loan Lingard given he's out of contact in the summer? I don't know. Every manager is a risk, says Adja. You're spot on. Listen to his interview with Gary Neville. He never spent that much at Derby, says Queensbury. Well, I was under the impression that he did, but I'll give it a listen again. Can't believe I was listening to Naked Martin on Twitter, says JMD. Is right, lad, is right. Kieran says, hilarious that you're saying Dunk should go off and prepare for the next time when Frank is... I'm not saying the next time when Frank is sacked. I'm saying that Frank Lampard isn't going to be here forever, is he? So there will come a point where he's either sacked or he leaves, as with any manager. And Dunk, if Dunk wants the Everton job at some point, he needs to put himself in a position where he can say, I've got that experience to take that job. I've got that experience to do that. But I'm not... Obviously, Frank Lampard won't be sacked. And I hope Frank Lampard's a massive success. And I hope he's here for 10 plus years like David Moyes. I really, really do. And if he is, then that's great, isn't it? That's great. Good man, Cam. We all have to enjoy letting our hair down, says Damien. Nice one, mate. Dave says if you need to change the format after 20 minutes, you need players who can follow the instructions. Spot on. Unzard likes to get a drunk Cam last team. Can't get a drunk Cam last team. Frank Lampard will be the man to turn it around for us and get to back where we belong. It'll take time, though. We need to be patient. Yeah. 300 people watching and only 48 likes. Get them likes up, people, with your manners. Chat around Finch Farmers. Ruben Loftus-Cheek is already muted as our first signing. Wouldn't surprise me, mate. Wouldn't surprise me. If fans couldn't get the ground rocking for Duncan. Interesting point. But I think now we've got to understand that we've got to get behind. We've just got to get behind it. We simply have. Remember, Kevin Campbell, he never tried to get money out of us. Good lad, boss. Kev's boss. I love Kev. Got to get Kev on the channel over the next couple of days. Actually, he's a boss fella. Cam Paul from London says Paul is right. Big toffee today. Big day today. I hope a big turnaround too. Come on, Frank. Is right, Paul. Don't bottle it, Cam, says Mike. John says Carlo's choice was Real Madrid or Everton. It's a no-brainer. Yeah. Tosun is actually a decent finisher. Could come in handy for pens in the FA Cup, or Frank could get the best out of him. Tosun shouldn't be anywhere near Everton, should he? Let's be honest. He's hanging on like a bad fucking smell, Cenk Tosun. Jesus, somebody get some Febreze and just move him on. And by Febreze, I mean the spray that, gets rid of the smells, not hair can spray. Get smashed, lad. No. No. Machete wanted the Hollywood Club, but turned us into Disneyland. Disgraceful treatment of Dunk Jags. So, you know what? That's a really good point. Turned us into Disneyland. That's a really good point. Duncan stay here all his life as a number 2. If he's ambitious, he would go anywhere in the world, move his family and work alone. He doesn't have that commitment. Well, we'll wait and see. Abigail says, I'm a massive blue, but I think it might be the best for Dunk to go and cut his ties and teeth in management as a first team manager. Maybe. The Aubameyang links are because Jermaine Genius has come out and said we should sign him. So don't listen to it. Steve says, mad how we've been linked with any centre-backs when we're completely desperate for one. We need to, in my opinion. Yeah, true. But maybe now with the manager coming in, we will be linked to a couple of centre-backs. Hopefully anyway, because you're right, we do need at least one. Jamie says, but we don't have the younger talent that Chelsea have. We've got shite. We need loans. Who's this messaging me now at this time? Can't they tell I'm live? I'm doing a live stream. But we need loans or signs no matter what. Yeah, you're spot on. Surely Dunk has to leave. This won't be the 17th manager, will it? He said the other day he doesn't have the experience. How's he going to get a stay in it? It's a good point. Can Bramford step up, says Mike? I think he can. Still talking about DCL and AFTV. Will they sign him? Gut feeling says yeah, unfortunately. Gut feeling says yeah. Not this window. It'll be, if it's any time, it'll be the summer. But unless Lampard comes in and really rejuvenates this football club and gives Calvert-Lewin a reason to stay, I'm not confident he'll stay. And Lowen says, I'd take Loftus-Cheek, he's decent. Is right. Anyway, look, we are going to finish it there then. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. 2 likes away from 200. So if you could hit those likes, that would be absolutely unbelievable. We've just had 400 people in the channel as well watching, which is absolutely amazing. As I said, the latest at the moment, as of literally right now, is that Frank Lampard, according to Fabrizio Romano, one of the journalists, is set to be appointed as Everton manager. As for when that announcement will be, I'm not too sure. Let me just double check that there's been nothing else to report since then. Like I said, as of when the appointment will be, we'll have to wait and see. It might be today, it might be tomorrow, it might be Monday. If it is today, if it is tomorrow, whenever it is, we will be live back on the channel with either a video or a live stream talking about it, giving my initial thoughts and opinions, and yeah, just having another little chat. And now it's time to get behind the club. Now it's time to get behind the manager, the players, and get behind our football club, because if we don't, even with Frank Lampard, we're still in a very, very dangerous situation. We are. So, and John says, is this the first time Machedi's been overturned? Machedi might have wanted Lampard. We don't know. My gut feeling was Machedi wanted Pereira, but he might have changed his mind. Pereira maybe, I don't know, didn't give a good enough third interview, or maybe the Sky thing. I don't know. But I think the Sky thing he was put up to by certain people. So, yeah, listen. As I said, some people will still be unhappy, some people won't be. Let's get behind the manager, get behind the players, get behind the team, and let's hope that Frankie goes to Goodison can rejuvenate us and give us a bounce between the end of the season. I think that's got to be the title of the live stream, isn't it? That we do when we announce him. Frankie goes to Goodison. I mean, newspapers should pay me for this sort of stuff. If I see that in the Echo or if I see that in national news tomorrow, let me know, by the way, if anybody sees that Frankie goes to Goodison in the news tomorrow, get on me, because I'll be having complaints to be made, because that's I'm copywriting that now. That's my saying. I've not heard it anywhere else. That's my saying. Yeah. Anyway, big thank you all for watching. Really, really do appreciate it. If you've enjoyed this one, please do hit the like button. As I said, if you want to keep updated, if you want to, find out when we're next going live, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It literally takes a second, and you'll know as soon as we go live, as soon as the announcement is made. We'll be jumping on it. So hit that subscribe button, please. 210 likes, Cam. Well done, says Mike. Nice one. Frankie says relax, Cam. Glenn is right. Super Frankie Lampard, says Matty. Positivity. That's what we want, positivity. Massive thanks for watching. Big thanks to everyone in the live comments. As I said, I'm really sorry we couldn't get involved with all of them, but it's just the support recently has been unbelievable. I can't thank you all enough. If you're watching the YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below, and we'll try and get involved with as many of them as we can. Big thanks to all the people that have donated as well. If you have enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe if you're new as well. It takes a second, and hopefully we'll see you later for another live stream, another video. And hopefully we'll have an announcement. But we'll wait on that one. Big thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.